The Flatiron Building, one of the world's most iconic skyscrapers, and a quintessential symbol of New York City.
This building is probably the most photographed building in the world.
Even before its completion at the turn of the last century, it was famous.
The man in the street was fascinated with this building. As it was going up, it was the talk of the town.
Soaring 22 stories high on a once revolutionary all-steel frame. When first built, this technical marvel enthralled, entranced, and even terrified.
It looks like a bunch of toothpicks holding it up, and people didn't think that a building could stand up that way.
Architecturally visionary, the Flatiron Building broke new ground in skyscraper construction and became one of the most dynamic structures ever created.
Burnham was a great Chicago architect, had not yet built any structures in New York City. He was given the opportunity to really make a statement at a principal corner in New York.
Since his successful days in Chicago, Daniel Burnham had become a shining star of the architecture world, designing some of George Fuller's most famous buildings, as well as the vast and visionary National Mall in Washington, D.C. Burnham's artistic ambition and business savvy seemed limitless, and with the Flatiron Building, he would show the world the wonder and power of all-steel construction.
And so the design of the Flatiron Building was really like an extrusion of this narrow piece of pie triangle on the site.
At the vertex, the triangular tower would be just 6.5 feet wide, and as viewed from above, this pointed end of the structure would cut an extreme acute angle of about 25 degrees. It would be unlike anything anyone had ever seen. And in June 1901, during one of the hottest summers in New York history, excavation began.
And the building was to be called, he announced to the press and anybody else who would listen, the Fuller Building. And nobody paid any attention. Nobody ever called this building anything other than the Flatiron Building, because this building sat on the Flatiron lot, and you couldn't separate that association. And not only that, the man in the street was fascinated with this building. As it was going up, it was the talk of the town.
It was so thin, it looked like a stiff breeze could knock it over. And of course, they didn't understand the strength of steel.
Many stories on the building, but I guess one of my favorite stories as a developer was the fight that there was between Harry Black and Daniel Burnham regarding the extension of the glass structure.
To Burnham, the addition of a protruding glass structure at the base of the narrow vertex was an insult to the aesthetic integrity of the building. To Black, it was an irresistible sliver of unused real estate.
It was Harry Black's decision. He wanted to capture every single square inch, obviously for a commerce matter, and he was able to win this little battle.
Finally, in June 1902, after only 1 year of construction, workers took down the scaffolding and unveiled Burnham's and Black's gift to the city.
No structure ever put in the metropolis has attracted as much attention as this one. Knots of people staring up at it may be seen in the vicinity at all hours.
Pointing northward like a steamship sailing into the future, the Flatiron became one of the city's most recognizable symbols of progress, a place where art, commerce, and culture all converged. The Flatiron Building was designated a New York City landmark in 1966 and became a National Historic Landmark in 1989. More than a century after it was built, it is still one of the most instantly recognizable symbols of the city, featured in movies and television shows, and lending its name to an entire neighborhood.
I'm not sure I can think of any other skyscraper that's been turned into the name for a whole part of the city. You know, we don't think of Lower Manhattan as the Woolworth District. We don't think of the 30s as the Empire State Building District. But we do think of that area around Madison Square as the Flatiron District. And I think that's kind of cool, actually.
It has left an indelible imprint not only on the neighborhood, but across the globe. While New York City grew up around it, rising taller and taller, the Flatiron Building has continued to cast a special spell over each new generation.
It's something spiritual, it's something emotional. When people look at it, they feel something. Sometimes people almost cry when they see this building.
Sometimes it's hard even to separate out the memory I have of seeing the Flatiron Building as I'm coming down Fifth Avenue with the memory in my head of that incredible Steichen photograph, for example. They all kind of blend together to create this sense of this building as an incredibly important and sort of beloved thing.
The Flatiron is more than just a building. It's a bold reminder of what we can achieve with vision and determination. Like all of us, it is on a journey, paying respect to the past while forging bravely into the future.